but I make an
Mhm.
assumption. If you didn't have some of these regulations, let's say we split regulations up from those that we've got to have. These we got regulations that really are serious, that deal with serious issues, and then you got other ones where you're like, it's arguable, right? Like do I really need that? Probably not. If we just had the bare minimum, the one to keep people safe, would there be enough room in the market, in your opinion, for big and small players to play and make money?
Yes. And this is why, because there should be a distinction between small, what we would call it. Minnesota does have what they call cottage food laws.
Mhm.
A cottage food law is kind of that distinction between small farms and corporations. So that's why I can bake bread without a commercial kitchen. Like my kitchen's not commercial, but I use a lot of commercial stuff in it because it's handy to have.
Mhm.
And I just bought it's a 30 quart mixer. It's about 4 feet tall for the ground to make bread. It's amazing. But
Oh, wow.
anyways, so cottage food laws do cover bread, baked goods, canned goods, salsas, jellies, jams, barbecue sauces, all kinds of things, pickles. They cover that in Minnesota. So as long as you don't meet a certain threshold, you're still considered a small producer, but that threshold is actually pretty generous. It's like $89,000.
Mm.
So if you're making $89,000 of pickles, you're doing really well, right? But they don't have that distinction for cottage food laws to consider dairy products. And so I have been working on legislation for several years now, actually. And this was kind of one of the first things I did when I got into politics. I was like, we need to change the raw milk laws in Minnesota. And I wrote up legislation. And last year it had a bill in both the House and the Senate with authors. So it had a companion bill. It didn't go anywhere because the legislation in Minnesota isn't one of cooperation at the moment. But it's there, so and a lot of times these things take years before it kind of gets traction and passes. Even the Department of Ag rubber stamped this bill as they weren't going to fight it, which was amazing. But the distinction for dairy products isn't recognized in the cottage food industry. It's also not recognized for red meat. So think pork, cows, beef. That's red meat still has to have the same regulations as corporate businesses do, but white meat doesn't. So there's this kind of lopsided, this availability of legislation for certain aspects of ag. Like you can literally grow your own chickens, process them yourselves, and turn around and legally sell it in Minnesota, but you can't do that with pigs. So that's one of the things I've been working on specifically with dairy. But that's also the meat, and like that kind of is a niche product. Like if you want to make sausage, you should be able to, as a small producer.
It looks like you froze up there. Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Not have to meet the same requirements as you do for corporate farms. And that's one of my side projects, but
gotcha.
Farming's like my real passion. So,
right. So what I'm hearing is you're already ready to hit the ground running because you're already drafting legislation. And we all know that Congress members love drafting legislation. As I said on my show, I think it was this morning, just for April, it's only April 15th. They've introduced 85 pieces of legislation. So they love drafting legislation, but you will draft legislation that is meaningful, as opposed to, hey, let's do a report on something so that it does nothing.
Right. So. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not going to do anything with that information because, like I said,
right.
They're the problem.